This place is built like Edinburgh, Scotland, places like that. But all the groundwork, the infrastructure to the groundwork, the roads, was done by my people who were incarcerated. Okay? And then what happened? 1881, the invasion and plundering of Parihaka. Keep going. Military exile, eh? Now, I really want you to read this part here, because the government took over down in Parihaka. Okay? That's when our people under Tohu Kaki and them, they told them to sit down and not stand up and fight, because my people are great fighters. If you check out English history, you'll see what the English had very rough time with our people here. The conditions, but because of how we actually fortified our villages, and they struggled with it, but they used our tunnels and trenching, they used that in the Crimean after they fought our people. And the whole system of bunkers, they use bunkers now in warfare, it's from my ancestors. But we believe that we bought that because we've been in conflict for many years before we came to this country. Okay? But they always knew about how to resolve it. Okay, now this is what Te Whiti, oh, can you go back, sister? This is important here. See, Te Whiti, because the leaders were treated different to the other prisoners. So they were sent to Kaiapoi, and that's another place in the South Island. And see, if you see there, look, he was asked about European technology, and this is what Te Whiti said. Indeed, the Pākehā, that's foreigners, did have some useful technology, but not the kindness of the heart. To see that Māori also possess much greater technology, which if Pākehā were prepared to adopt, would lead to stability and peace and the building of a great new society. Because we had it amongst our people before. We had conflict. Pre-European, we weren't all dancing around playing Ring Around the Rosies. We had conflict too. But we still see the Europeans only highlighted one part of our culture, which was the dark side. What we're about now, what we're teaching to incarcerated people, is everything from Te Ao Marama, which is the world of enlightenment. Okay, to free them. So we're drawing on all of those teachings from Te Whiti o Rongomai, Tohu Kākahu, right back into time. Up north, this is what our elder taught us, and he left for us. He said, ka pōhai Pākehā, I ngā rā kei te haramai. He said that there will come a time when you will be labourers under your white friends. Okay? And then he said, takahia te riri ki raro o koutou nei waiwai. Nevertheless, suppress anger and bad feelings under your feet. And then he said, wait till the sandfly nips the pages of the treaty. If you have looked at the original document of the Treaty of Waitangi, between the settlement government, the English and my people, it's all eaten around the outside of it. And then he said to stand, challenge, to arise, challenge and oppose. That's what he said. See, that foresight, look to the future, not now. His warrior spirit was saying to him, keep fighting the English because you've already beaten them here. They've taken all their soldiers and they've gone out of this place. See, and he says, the first thing he says was, last night I fought with God. He says, ina tō ka whawhai au ki te atua. Because his warrior spirit was saying to keep fighting. But he listened to the spirit. And the Spirit of God told him to suppress anger. Titiro atu ki te taumata te moana. That's a proverb in Māori, to look to the sea. Because there's a lot of things coming to us in our future if we hold on to these teachings. Kia au ki te whakapono, which means to hold fast to the faith that you have in your heart. Okay, moving right along. These people were eventually returned to Parihaka in 1883. Okay? They were poor as when they went home. That's Taranaki. Te Whiti returned to, in 1898. 19 years our people were incarcerated here. It's New Zealand history that nobody likes to share, but we know it. We know it inside out. When Te Whiti was returned and imprisoned with Tita Toko Waru, He was assaulted there because you know what he was trying to do? Every second, one night, every fortnight, he held peace meetings with his people to teach them how to deal with everything that had happened to them, to teach them how to resolve this. So they recited ancient prayers along with the new prayers from the different religions that came. And that's what they were doing. They were feeding their people spiritual food. And he was beaten for that. These guys, by 1907, that's when my grandfather was born, most of these leaders had passed away. But you know what? All of these leaders died peaceful deaths. If you look at the stories from their families, they died with peace in their hearts because they had resolved conflict, they had forgiven, and they were teaching their people to forgive. And that's what Parihaka looked like in 1930. Can you remember what that great city it was? That's what it was reduced to by this colonial rule here. People that are peaceful, because you get blessed when you're peaceful. Manakitanga, that's what we call it in Māori. Manakitanga. Mana gets given to you. Prestige gets given to you when you do things that are right. To us, we were doing everything that was right, but this is what happened to us. Okay? Reduced to this. 1970, by 72, there was a tribunal set up to address our grievances. Because most countries where you don't have redress and you address grievances and listen to people's story, what happens is that's how civil wars start. Okay? But our people have always stood challenged and opposed in the right places. Do you know the worst things that have happened here to do with terrorism? I'll tell you now. One of our people, America's Cup, was here for yachting. Big event where everybody was focused on. One of our people got a hammer and beat the cup up to take everybody's view, use the media to take everybody's view off this big event that rich people were coming to and to focus on the events around our land, being dispossessed from our land in there. Another one was the cutting of a tree that was a foreign tree on an ancestral mountain called One Tree Hill. That's not its name, it's Maunga Kiaki. Okay, but they cut that to draw attention to political issues. That's the sort of things that my people have done because they're still stuck with peace. Yeah, so people have thought, oh no, these Māori are terrible. But if you have a look at it, if you go back just over 20 years, there were some of our other people that have been colonised just before us, Irish. They were doing some pretty extreme things to make their point, political point, just so that you can have a look at what my people have done. Parihaka, this is the land, or if you go back just this is all the land there that they got back. Now their land goes like this, right across to the other side, but that's what they were given back. See up the north there, nothing was given back because nothing was taken. And I'm proud of that because our people still stuck to peace. But we had the numbers up north, down around the middle of the island, the numbers, our people were spread out. Okay, next one. Whare Wānanga. This is what happened after that period of time that we settled some grievance through claims and we were given redress, what they call redress. You're given land back, resources. So what happened was they set up the language nests. Ko hunga hunga means that our children, because they were taken away from their language protocols, straight from the womb, our children can be taught our language. We have preschool, ko hangareos. There's like over 300 of those set up in this country, where our language is being taught and our protocols and our beliefs. So these teachings are alive and well. Do you know that most Indigenous people follow our models to do with health, housing, education and employment? They follow Māori throughout the world. Mohawk Indians came here and set up their language in Nisa after us. The Punana Leo in Hawaii set it up after what we've done here. These are the celebrations of sticking to peace. Kura Kaupapa, that's the straight, like intermediate school. And then what we have is, we have Whare Wānanga now. We have 5 Māori universities in this country. same status as here, right where we're standing. They can be qualified in a range of different things. So from the womb right up to adulthood, we're able to teach our language and qualify our people. There's no other Indigenous people in the world that suffered what we've suffered, that has what we have. So these are all the fruits, eh? We call this, you know, if justice is the seed, well, the fruit is peace. Okay? And but you have to remember too, this is a lovely story, that part, but you need to understand that many of our people are still in conflict because they don't know this information. We're only working with the ones that are incarcerated. This knowledge here still hasn't been taken into the schools. It's not part of their tertiary education. Sad, eh? But that's real. That's our story, and we have to go with what's happened to us, but still keep going, eh? Still keep arising. Now I wanted to say with this here, for the first time in New Zealand history, the general over the New Zealand Army is a Māori. Okay? First time in our history. Now when that happened in Fiji, they overthrew the government straight away. This is serious, eh? This is serious. And they've overthrown their government more than once because the indigenous Fijians look at their oppressors as still oppressing them. So once the leadership of the army is given back to the indigenous people, they usually uprise. Not so here. Yet if you go to Wellington, you have a look at in the Beehive in Wellington, they've got a vault down there where everybody will go if everything turns to custody here. So we're not paranoid, but the government's paranoid. I wanted to share with you this because our people entered into a covenant with the Crown, with King George. And I'll share with you this from the bottom of my heart, that our people are loyal to what comes out of their mouth. So when they went into a partnership with the Crown, they're loyal to that. And my people here swear allegiance to the Queen of England. Even though we've had trouble around land and all those things, but all in all, if you look at our armed forces, 76 to 84% of our forces is Māori. Our Special Air Service, which is well known throughout the world, is still 78% Māori. And so what I wanted to share with you is that the last thing on our people's minds, they swear allegiance to the Queen of England. You see? But it's been our political leaders that haven't honoured what the Crown has entered into with us. That's what I wanted to say. Just so that you know our people are very staunch to the Crown. Okay, so you'll hear stories about activists here and activists there. But we have Māori membership scattered throughout all of the different parties in government. If you're from here, you'll know that. We have two Māori parties, the Mana Party that's just started, and the Māori Party. We have Māori TV. We have some things that are groundbreaking, and we believe it's because of the decisions of these peacemakers from before. So this is nearly finished. If you go to the next one. Recognition of past leaders. Right here, that's our leader from Taranaki. But if you have a look over here, that's your man there, the grandson of Gandhi. It's Martin Luther King's direct descendant. And there, over here is Taisaku Ikeda over here. And if you read this, in 2003, the Parihaka leaders were recognized posthumously after death, by an international delegation of representatives of Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi, and Taisaku Ikeda for their foundational work and sacrifice as fathers of non-violent action. So I just wanted to share with you, would you have known that if I didn't stand before you today and tell you that that's what happened? 50 years before Gandhi used this non-violent approach, because what happened at that period of time, Taranaki, was there was a newspaper circulated throughout the Commonwealth. Well, it was called the Colonial Press, and they told the stories of what happened in Taranaki 50 years before Gandhi actually took that back to India and utilised that for peace over there. And And you know, we know that when he was in South Africa, that this newspaper was circulated to South Africa. Many of the soldiers that came in to fight us came from South Africa, via Australia, via America, and via the rest of the world. Now the king that went to have that weight of war and affliction lifted off him, from the beginners of it, this is a direct descendant of Te Ua Haumene, that first guy who pushed for peace, the Pai Māori, Te Whitiro Rongomai, who was brought down here, incarcerated, Tohu Kākahi, all those people, this is their descendant right here. So we believe, this is what we believe, and it's always been taught. I told Michelle when I first met her, I said, I'll tell you what, we know where Martin Luther King got his philosophy from, but we believe we know where Gandhi got his philosophy from too. So we don't say that to be boastful, but to be humble and to share with you that we know about conflict resolution. So that's all I really want to say at this period of time. Just to finish, the Māori king that came to Te Ua Haumene, and he told him to resolve everything, his kingdom was meant to be wiped out. Last week they had the coronation of his descendant, King Tuhaiti. His coronation was last week. That tribe there that suffered more loss than nearly any tribe, the Taranaki people and Tainui people, that's my dad's side. What happened is they've got over money. When you talk money to my people, it means nothing. But they own probably $1.5 billion in assets because of their settlements. They've utilised that and diversified their money. They're corporations that are leading our people. But I wanted to share with you that the battle's not over for us, because we now are going to fight another battle, and that's not to become corporations like our oppressors, because that's what's happened, eh? When we talk about sustainability, economic development. See, to do any development now, there has to be what they call a quadruple bottom line. For economic sustainability, it has to have a next to nil negative impact on ecology. That's culture all the way. And then it has to have positive social outcomes, because to me that's what this is all about. But they can only come to play if culture's part of that. And the culture of the people of that land who know their land and know what's good for their people and for their land. And so this peace conference is held every year since then. So you're welcome to come to that. It's a good time. But that's all I wanted to say. We're alive and well. We're still there. We're still kicking. So, kia ora. Oh, shucks. I haven't finished.
Keep going.
No, I'm sorry, I haven't finished.
We just want another applause.
Yeah. Only because what happened was it went out of sync.
Yes.
Okay? But look, the symbol that our people wear to this day for this, the people of Taranaki wear 3 feathers in the hair, but they're albatrosses feathers. Okay? And this is what they represent, those 3. If you go over what they represent, these 3 white feathers, the prophets of Parihaka, that's who left it to us, eh? And it conveys the following message. Glory to God on high. Now when you hear this, what will sound in your ears is, oh, that's religion. Well, I tell you what, my people spoke like that pre-European. They spoke like that. And that's what the elder did when he was here today. He did a prayer that came, see, what we believe is all of these things were written in our mind, in our heart, and our soul is actually your spirit and your body together. That's what Māori believes. It's been the tauiwi foreigners who have tried to separate all of these things, to observe, measure, and test them. But we believe that your body and your soul is your spirit and your body together. Okay? And then it says, Maunga rongo ki te whenua. He acknowledged all of the mountains around here when he spoke. Because mountains represent our ancestors and God, because our stories tell us that our people went to the mountain to hear the word of God. Pre-European. Maunga rongo means where they went to listen. So we call the heavens and light as rangi. That's what we call our Sky Father. Same as First Nations people in the Americas. Sky Father. Mother Earth. And the mountains are the poles of our house. Okay? Whakaaro pai ki ngā tangata katoa. So that word there, whakaaro, the Hawaiians call it mana o io, which means that all your thoughts should go to the Supreme Creator. So you should have those thoughts all the time. The word aroha, aroha is the same as aloha. So you'll hear the most common understanding is love, but aro means in the presence of. So me, I'm standing I mua I te aro o koutou. I'm standing in your presence. Aroha means that we always put ourselves in a space where we're able to stand in the presence of God. And if we can't do that when we're with other human beings, well, we won't be able to do it when we pass on spiritually. That's where in the presence of Io Te Ha Manawa, the one who gives us life. So when I hongied you before, that's what you're acknowledging. The first breath that was breathed into our first parents. That's why you do that when you hongi with Māori, is because you're acknowledging no matter who you are, where you come from, what your language is, that we've all come from the same source. We don't believe that we come from a monkey, that's for sure. Okay? And that's been a challenge. That's been a challenge for a lot of people that have come here, because we have lineage that's direct back to Atua. Okay? And then it says here, this message was central to the teachings of the prophets. And here you go, here, look. They started the passive resistance movement in Aotearoa 50 years before Mahatma Gandhi introduced similar ideas in India. They acknowledged the spirituality of spiritual forces, the importance of making peace within yourself. And that's the answer to this. For haurongo is to enter into the peace, your own peace. Okay, you've heard all of this before. It sounds better in my language. If you could speak my language, I assure you that its resonance would be different. Because what we believe is that in language, things are lost in translation. Yeah, and you'd understand that, use that, have your own languages too. Okay, and then it's necessary. Oh, this here, I don't, you know what, stay there. That there, that cross, represents the toro. The toro, remember the elder speaking this morning? How the toro is the albatross. And that albatross is a very important sign to our people. And that's what the cross represents to us. Pre-European, pre-Christian, because what it is, it's telling the story of a great ancestor that's given us the power, like the albatross, to circumnavigate the whole of the Pacific. Okay? And the tears of the albatross are these things that you see coming down. Because when you go to our marae, you'll get to see that it represents a big bird. And the people of that land will call you and they'll say, haere mai, haere mai. So what they're doing is they're calling you, saying to literally come to me. Because that bird represents God. So they're telling all people to come to God. Pre-European, pre-Christian. Okay? Then when you enter in through that portal, that doorway, you'll be entering into the womb, the female genitalia, showing that we all have sprung out from the first mother. The mother, woman, is so important to our people, and that's why they fought so well when they fought the English, because they believe that your land is the woman. If the land's not healthy, the woman won't be healthy and the children won't be healthy. So when you re-enter that wharenui, you're re-entering into the realm of rongo, which is the realm of peace. A warm, comfortable and safe environment where you're fed by, the speakers are called the umbilical cord, because they're reconnecting you and feeding you spiritually. So when you come out through that portal again, you're coming into this world of life. Again, you've just got a shot in the arm. You're actually literally born again. That's why you pass through the symbolism of the female genitalia coming back out. Because what comes first is that you're born of water. Okay? We call that Te Waiorotani, the living water of the firstborn. See, and you listen to this and you think, oh, if you're into theology, they go, gee, this fella's been colonized by Christian missionaries. But I want to assure you that our people knew these things. And then what comes after water and birth is blood. Okay? Because the baby starts to tear away from the wall of the uterus. Eh? That's in the labour pains. Our people are big on those things. We have all the names for the whole birthing process. Okay? So you're born of water, you're born of blood, and then what our people believe when the baby comes out, that's when the spirit, He or God, takes the spirit from where we are spiritually and places it into that body. So then the body and the flesh become one. That's the soul of man. And that's what this is all about, is nurturing the spirit that's within the body. So, kia ora tātou. That's it.
May we
Yes,
give him a hug?
go, you start.
Could you give him a hug from all of us?
You can hold me.
You're a...
And kia ora means to everlasting life.
May I suggest, I would hate to go to lunch now and everybody going in another direction. I think now it would be wonderful if we could present each other to each other. But it's now into our lunch.
We have until 12:30 before the pounding continues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick.
45-minute reprise.
Could Kevin, would it be possible to get the Chinese food here?
We haven't done that, but it's probably easier to go there this time, and then if you want to book it, then we can maybe get it in for tomorrow.
So we could go until 12:30 is all I'm saying. We can go
We'll
another
go
20
to
minutes.
12:30 and we'll just make our presentations of ourselves very short and as an introduction that will continue after we have lunch and during lunch, so if we can.
And you can lead the presentation.
Yeah. So I think you know how I explained coming into the marae, and that's what you do. You're acknowledging everyone's sacredness. So the whole process is about we call everybody that's coming in. Say we've just come into the meeting house here, which we are, and you've come into the realm of rongo, which is in the realm of peace. It's because when you go out there, that's when all the powers, there's opposite forces. And that's what we have to get strong for, eh? Just like going to church. But our people lived in that house. So you were in there every day. You know, and that's the importance of teaching this to families, is that, you know, prayers and things like that, they aren't rituals you do when there's a crisis. They're protocols that we did all the time to make you strong, to deal with opposition to peace. Right? And yeah. And so what happens in that realm, once the speaker, so we've already had the speaker open with a prayer, that was the elder. Then we've had, like, what I've done is because the proper protocols of Māori is that I have to acknowledge it before anything else happens. But we went with this, you know, because we're coming from all over the world. And then so what we're doing now is, it's only right that you do what we call whakawhanaungatanga, which means you start to do you stand and you do your genealogy. Now in our culture, it's not about you saying, good nākin, and that's it. You actually say who your mother is, your father, where they come from, if you know the mountains that they come from, if you know the streams, the valleys. See, because you're bringing your life and your experience of your elders right to us. Now when you talk to them, appreciative inquiry, because we would say in Māori that that's whakawhanaungatanga. Because what you're doing is you're acknowledging everybody and you're respecting and appreciating where they've come from. Because then you can really get to see kanui ki te kanui, eyeball to eyeball, and ngākau ki te ngākau, heart to heart. See, so that's the importance of taking your time. Now, an example of this, before we go around like
Example.
this, is when the elders stood and spoke today, if we were doing protocols, he said that he wasn't Ngai Tahu, the tribe from here. He was actually the people that came before them. He's from the more Uriuri people. So the first thing I would do was I would do my genealogy, and then what I'd do is I'd connect myself to the elder through genealogy. And so what I'd do is I'd state 56 lines of genealogy, just like that. And that I'd go back to 26 lines of genealogy before the Hawaiians. So you're in Hawaii, but go back 26 generations there, because then I can come down and do my genealogy to him. And then I'll come right back to the mountain that I was brought up under, the river that nourished us. See, because they're all symbols of God. But that's how important this, appreciative. I'll get that before this conference is over. But see, that's why I got it as soon as you were doing it. I got to see that that's actually what we do.
Yeah.
And that's how you get to honor everybody. So when people are finished in our culture, they usually sing.
We're for that.
See, and so I need to finish properly and I'll sing a song.
Oh, great, great.
But it's good that you sing a song from where you come from, because Māori believe this, ko te waiata o te ngākau, he kraki anō ki tō tāte matu ora tonu. And that's what we've been taught, that a song of the heart is a prayer unto God. Okay? So I'll sing a song. The song is the speech that I gave right in the beginning. That my people have a lineage right back to what you might call the Garden of Eden, but we call the Kurawaka. So that's what this is telling, the story.
Okay.
Contemporary tune, kind of. But the words are ancestral.
Okay, so we will,
Ancestral tune, please.
Yeah.
okay, so we will start, and could maybe,
Oh, I'll sing because I'll finish my introduction.
okay, and then pass it to you,
And then
and you
we'll go
can show us, and then we'll go around. Perfect.
Yeah, our young people call it, when it comes like this now, they call it the creeping death. Because people are shy about what they're going to do. Oh, no, what song am I going to sing? Whatever. But it's really what the process is about. Kia whakarongo ake au ki te tangi a te manu nei, tā te matui, tui, 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 tui a, tui a i runga, tui a i raro, tui a i roto, tui a ki waho, tui a i te here tangata. Ka rongo te ao, ka rongo te pō, tui a i te muka tangata. I takahia mai, i Hawaii ki nui, i Hawaii ki roa, i Hawaii ki pāmamao. Te hono ki te wairua, ki te whei ao, ki te ao marama, haumi e, hui e, tai ki e. Kia ora tātou.
Thank you, Carmen. I'm Michelle Brenner. My mother was Stella Brenner. She came from England, and her parents came from Russia, and they were survivors of the pogrom in Russia. My father was Alex Brenner, who was a Holocaust survivor, and his family were from Poland and generations before that. And if there was a song that I would sing to you, it would be the song of my culture, and it would be Shalom Aleichem.
زوروني كل سنة مرة أرام this is the first part of an Egyptian song saying, you have to visit us at least once a year, otherwise it's a sin. I just love this song. And it's very connected to my biography and what I love.
Kevin Clements. I'm from Apotiki, and my mother was Faith Cushion, who was actually born in Milton here. My father was born in Christchurch. They came from Germany, Poland, and the United Kingdom. And I have a wife with 3 children and 6 grandchildren.
My name's David Adair. I was born in Western Australia on the Swan Coastal Plain. That's my country in the sea, adjoining. That's where I feel strongly. I'm exiled now. My father was from Victoria, my mother from also the Swan Coastal Plain, and from Ireland, Britain.
I'm Tony. My father was Mappin, my mother was Joyce. A refugee from London in the Blitz. I grew up in East Anglia. I've been a troublemaker around the world for about 35 years. And I now live in the Blue Mountains, west of Sydney.
I'm Dan. I was born in Cambridge, England. My father is originally Irish, and that's where my family kind of comes from. My mother is Spanish, from Catalonia, and yeah, I would not know what song to sing as my song because I've had many homes, so I've lived kind of quite a few places in the world, so I would not really be able to choose. But yeah, I've lived in New Zealand for about 3 years now.
I'm Rebecca Bradley. I was born in western parts of Sydney. My dad is born in Australia and can be traced back to the First Fleet. They're not sure if he was a sailor or a convict. My mum, her parents were born in England, and I think they just came over for a better life to Australia. I've been living in New Zealand for about a year because my partner lives here, and he moved from England as well because of the beauty of being here. And I wouldn't know what song to sing at all. I just feel drawn to all different places around the world.
Kia ora, ki te pini au. My mountain, my mother is from, my mother and father are both from England. My father goes back, he's a Connolly, to the protest, the Easter Uprising. James Connolly, who was slaughtered sitting down because he was injured. I only found that out recently. Sadly, my father died when I found that out, but they fled to Britain as a result of that. My mountain is a mountain in Suva, which I was born under, called Raniuto. In English it's called Tom Thumb because it looks like a thumb, but it's... And I have a husband and 2 lovely boys in their early 20s who give me a lot of pleasure. Okay, it's good to be here. Thank you for your...
My name is Amy. I'm from Auckland. Both my parents live in Auckland, but they were both born in Christchurch. My father is of English and Irish descent, and my mother is of German Jewish descent. I'm really happy to be here today to meet you all.
Kia ora.
My name is Uli Spalthoff. I'm from Germany, from a region in Germany which is called Westphalia, which is known for people who do not speak very much. Sometimes they do not speak at all. So and I'm coming from a family of, my father is from a family of typesetters and sculptors, and my mother is from a family of workers on the train she's also educated as a tailor. And I have 3 sisters, and that's for my family. I'm married to Brigitte, sitting there.
Namaste. I'm Vikas, and I'm from Nepal. I was born in a rural, hilly part of Nepal, eastern part of Nepal, and my father is a school teacher. He just retired last year, and my mother is a housewife. And actually today is Father's Day in Nepal, so it's good to remember my father in front of people from all over the world. So, and like initially, when I was born there, then like my parents migrated to the Tarai, the flat land of Nepal, because though my parents were a bit educated, but many facilities were not there, so they migrated to Tarai because of getting all basic facilities. And I did my high school there, and then I did my college degree in Kathmandu, and I did my master's degree in the US, and then I'm here as a PhD student, and Kevin is my supervisor. I have one brother and one sister, and my brother is in Kathmandu, and my sister is in Canada.
Are you gonna go to the end? Or, at the end.
Hi everybody, my name is Sean Lunton. I was originally born in what I would call Sasana, which is the Gaelic for England. But I moved here when I was quite young, so I don't really go there anymore. Or I haven't been there for a long time. And I live here in Dunedin. I'm doing a PhD in the music department. My parents live in Wellington, and that's where I spent most of my life. And my name's Andy and Sheila. Yeah. And they're sort of Irish, Celtic origin. Yeah. I have one sister who's living in London, but on her way back to live in Wellington. So.
The hard part. My name's Linda Hartling. I was born in Oregon, which is on the east coast, or the west coast of the United States, above California. My father's family came from Germany, so Hartling is a German name. I've always liked it because I can make a heart to explain my name. And they settled in Minnesota, the Midwest, where they're known for Minnesota niceness. So I like to borrow that from him. My mother's family was from Scotland, and they came to America as Quakers and had a very difficult time there, so they became part of the Oregon Trail movement, moved to the West Coast where they homesteaded there, and I like to have her pioneering spirit with me, which is also a survivor of the mental health system in the United States, and that's a part of me and my work to end cycles of humiliation, especially as it impacts people that have had those kinds of difficulties. So they are always with me, but I also feel like Evelyn's my sister, and all of the other people that are part of this network is part of my family now.